All right, everybody. Welcome to the stream, guys. Really quick, I'm just getting some stuff set up. Apologize for not streaming last night. I had to set up my room. Actually, I'm setting it up for a streaming setup, and so I got a new desk. So apologize for not streaming last night, but we will talk about last night's game. Miami Heat, obviously against my Boston Celtics. I'm not avoiding not talking about it. Obviously, we got to talk about it because it was probably one of the most tremendous games I've ever seen from Tyler Hero, and especially a rookie at such a young age. The way that he was able to battle and the way that he was able to do a lot of things on the court, I was really shocked in that aspect because, like I said, a rookie usually never plays like that, right? Rookies are normally, they're kind of quiet. They play their role, but Tyler Hero is playing way and above his role. And that's really cool to see from him. So, congrats to Tyler Hero in that aspect. So let's get started, guys. Like I said, welcome, guys. This is your boy Bernie here on The Charge, giving you the latest NBA live stream and rumors. And hey, Supreme Gamer, how you doing this fine evening? I'm assuming you watched the game. What'd you make of it so far? I mean, the Nuggets are in the position that a lot of people on Twitter, a lot of people probably they're going to talk on, First Take and Undisputed. They're going to say the Nuggets got it right where they want them. But I think this is a terrible position to be in if you're the Nuggets because in those other games, I kind of had faith in the Nuggets trying to get back into games. But I just don't know if I had the faith in the Nuggets this series to get back into it. The thing that I really I'm kind of curious about to talk about is, of course, Jokic again, absolutely getting bullied when it comes to the way that he was getting guarded and the way that he was in foul trouble once again. The Lakers have probably one of the perfect strategies for him. And that's probably frustrating for Nuggets fans. It's probably frustrating for people that were trying to do a lot of things. I mean, if we kind of look at the turnover battle, I think this kind of tells it all. Just a little bit, not as much, but it's not really the turnovers, I should say, that was really it. It was the rebounding that was a tremendous mistake by the Nuggets. And I think, Supreme Gamer, you kind of hit the nail on the head when you talk about mistakes. There was a lot of rebounds given up by Jokic, given up by the Nuggets that they usually get. And I just don't know, man. I don't like the fact that the Nuggets just didn't rebound like they were supposed to. That was probably one of the most infuriating things I think I've watched. As someone who coaches basketball, someone that's a basketball aficionado, played in high school, that effort on the rebounding boards is just something I don't see from the Nuggets very often. And no, I just don't see it. I'm sorry. It was frustrating to watch, I would say, as a coach, because there were so many boards. And like you talked about, Supreme Gamer, Jokic was very passive. Again, getting into those mind games. I mean, it's just one of those things where it's like, Jokic, you need to chill on the mind games because you're getting absolutely bamboozled, hoodwinked, flabbergasted by a player that's really just a backup. And it's infuriating to watch because I know what type of player Jokic is, but he kind of showed his kind of personality, or he showed like his game today, and it's just, again, less than 5 assists, just done. 7 rebounds only. I mean, the rest of them, Paul Millsap with 6, Grant with 2, Murray with 3, had 32 points and was amazing, but at the same time, still didn't get to where we needed them to go to. Gary Harris, once again, disappointing, 1 of 5. At this point, it's not even shocking that Gary Harris is playing terribly. I would honestly lead to him as the reason why the Nuggets lost this series, which they will eventually lose. I'm going to have to pay my girlfriend a dinner bet because she's a huge Lakers fan, and she says Lakers in 5. And it looks like it's going to probably be Lakers in 5. I just don't see the sort of passion that I would normally get from a Nuggets team. They look like a wounded animal right now. They don't look like a 3-1 team against, the LA Clippers. They look like a 3-1 team against, probably the reigning NBA champions in the LA Lakers. And I know that's early to call, but I just kind of see, I think the Lakers team is just too good. Lebron James stepped up to the plate, 0 turnovers, which is amazing because as we kind of noticed in the last 2 games, which the Nuggets really should have won. What was it, game 2? No, or so yeah, it would be game 2. Like they should have won game 2 because LeBron James again had 6 turnovers. And then obviously the win that the Nuggets had again, LeBron had 6 turnovers. So they didn't force LeBron James into some bad passes. LeBron James was in attack mode today, obviously getting to the line 14 times. Also Anthony Davis getting to the line 14 times. And it just kind of goes to show you guys that, when LeBron James wants to turn it up, he can turn it up. It's one of those things where we see kind of LeBron James in his natural habitat, the way that he's just able to attack the court when he wants to. 7 of 18. Anthony Davis 10 of 15. Again, not really giving you much on the boards, but yeah, like you said, Eroy. Yeah, dude. Yeah, there's I mean, I would love to say that the Nuggets can come back from that, but I just don't see it, man. I don't see the Nuggets coming back from that deficit. Not against this Lakers team. And Lakers won it way more than the Clips did. Stupid to think that the Nuggets, as much as I like them, will come back again. Yeah, I think the Nuggets really gave up on the opportunity to take advantage of going 2-2. What's up, Hilo? How you doing, man? They gave up the opportunity to really cement themselves and get it 2-2 and actually make it an interesting series. Right now it seems like the Lakers are kind of putting their feet up, playing some golf, doing other things in the bubble rather than really worrying about the Nuggets, because the Nuggets right now just seem that they just get in their own way. And especially when it comes to Jokic, who gets in foul trouble very often in the series, it's infuriating to watch because I know what kind of player Jokic can be, but he's just not really doing for it. He's not really doing it for me right now. It's just, and I agree with you, Supreme Gamer. They do need a third superstar, but the problem is I don't know. You're gonna have to trade some of that depth that you have on the Nuggets team, because it's very hard for people to go to Denver, even though it's a nice area. I've been to Denver. I really like it, but at the same time, I think it's gonna be tough convincing people to stay in the cold weather where it snows. I lived in Utah for a couple years going to college out there. It's tough, and those winters aren't fun, and I could see players maybe not really wanting to stay there very often. But yeah, they should keep Bol. They should keep Michael Porter Jr. I don't know what I mean. I would try and see if you can get something for Gary Harris, because he has just not showed up at all in these playoff series, and that's really frustrating for me because I know what type of player he can be. I know that he's a lot better than what he's showing, but at the same time, not doing the job. And then we see here, Rondo with a -9. I mean, still got 7 assists, and I believe that he's going to be, I think he passed Scottie Pippen for most assists in the playoffs. Kyle Kuzma and Michael Porter Jr. seem to be in their battle of like Jordan Farmar and Sasha Vujacic. Like, I just feel like those two are just kind of battling out, just like those two guys. I mean, it's kind of funny to watch, especially when we saw, Kyle Kuzma get roasted by Michael Porter Jr. twice. But it's still to no avail because the Nuggets obviously lost. They got out-rebounded, 41-33. And really the rebounding came down to, of course, Dwight Howard really stepped up again. 11 rebounds, played a lot of minutes, 23. Usually he only plays like less than 20. So that's really good to see. Supreme Gamer, you think that Rondo is the Lakers' third star? I don't really think they have a third star, because I mean, Rondo plays kind of like, he's hit or miss for me. Like, there's some days where he's playoff Rondo, and then there's other days where he's like, Orlando Magic or like whatever other team, Dallas Mavericks Rondo, where like, yes, he'll get you the assist, but he just doesn't do anything else. Yeah, Hilo, I mean, like, Gary Harris just played absolutely trash. It's frustrating to watch him play. Yeah, Supreme Gamer, he is mediocre. One thing I kind of forget to mention is that I actually was helping with the coaches camp at the University of Utah where he played at. And he definitely doesn't, like, his defense has stayed the same. And that's kind of something I've noticed, like, from when he was at the University of Utah, where I watched him play, watched his highlights, kind of studied him because he was our best player other than like Jordan Loveridge. And I believe Brandon Taylor, who was really good, played pickup against him. He's amazing. But that's kind of besides the point. But yeah, Kyle Kuzma, a little disappointing, I would say, from Kyle Kuzma. Hasn't really taken that step up yet. And I'm wondering when he is going to take that step up, because to me, I think I could definitely see him being a much better player. But right now, he's just not getting to where I need to. And yeah, I'm going to butcher your name. Is it Eyoy 1001? I mean, is it Eyoy? I probably just butchered it. But, that dunk to layup move by Murray, amazing. Jamal Murray is playing like an absolute beast, a superstar type of player. It just sucks that right now his teammates aren't really doing much for him. We kind of see Morris playing a better role. Craig played absolutely terrible with a -17. Didn't really do much in that aspect. Michael Porter Jr. played, about what you would expect from Michael Porter Jr. But, is what it is. Oh, so, you kind of, no, I guess you call the Heat Nuggets matchup, but you know what? If we had to go with the Heat Lakers rivalry or like a Heat Lakers finals matchup, I think I'd have the Heat. Obviously, I think the Lakers would be favored, but I think I would give the Miami Heat a really good chance, especially if they run that zone. What I really love about that zone, if you kind of watch it, is that they have their athletic forwards in the front. Like they have Jimmy Butler, Jay Crowder, and then they have kind of their more unathletic guys like Goran Dragic and the other guy who like Tyler Hero or Duncan Robinson, kind of playing those wing roles, and like a 2-2. I believe it's like a 2. It's like a 2-2-1 because Bam is kind of in the back. But what's really cool about it is that you can really be athletic. I mean, the only thing is that you're going to have to watch out for Anthony Davis, because Anthony Davis can actually stretch the floor really well. He can stretch it better than Theis, who I think we need to replace as the Boston Celtics. So we really need to do a better job in that aspect. And we'll kind of talk about the Heat and the Celtics, which I'm reluctant to talk about just due to the fact of what the result was, but we still got to talk about it. I'm not trying to avoid it. But yeah, I really think that it's going to be a really interesting matchup watching the Miami Heat play that zone defense on them. I think that they could actually have a really good chance, especially because we know that Kyle Kuzma likes to kind of turn over the ball a little bit. He had one turnover today, but I think this team is susceptible to turnovers, especially when it comes from their bigs. Anthony Davis on a post-up. I think you can get LeBron James and Rajon Rondo into some turnover battles, and that's how they kind of win the game. And I really like Jimmy Buckets, man. Like I said, like the Heat are just a bunch of island of misfit toys, and I really think that they have a chance at stealing a couple games, but ultimately it's going to be the Lakers in like 5 or 6, I think. As much as I kind of rave about the Miami Heat and their defense, and I would probably take some of that stuff and put it into the high school team that I currently coach on, or at least try and talk to the head coach about it. It's still one of those things where I don't think that the Miami Heat have enough kind of superstar power around them to get them over the hump, because I think that Dwight Howard and Bam Adebayo would match up, but then it's like, who do you match up against Anthony Davis? That's going to be the biggest one for me. They know how LeBron works. They can build a wall on AD like Giannis. Shooters will make their shots. Yeah. Sorry about that, guys. I get some people are just honking outside and have the window open. Okay, it's cool. I just want to make sure I pronounced your YouTube name right. But yeah, I really think that right now the Lakers are in full mode. They're going to be on cruise control next game. We could see the Nuggets win next game, and probably an obvious must win. But I don't really expect much of a fight, especially if what's kind of disappointing, like I talked about with Jokic. He may have had 7 rebounds, but there's like a couple of them, and I know he was in foul trouble. So was Paul Millsap, so was Grant. And as you can tell by how many times LeBron James and Anthony Davis went to the line, they were in definite foul trouble, and they were definitely not going to make an impact and stay on the court very long enough. I mean, Paul Millsap with 17 minutes. You had Grant with 43, which is good. Jokic with only 36. Babe, you know what? I might say that it is Lakers in 5, but we'll see. But yeah, I really think that the Nuggets are in big trouble, especially when it comes to the rebound. Like today was just about rebounding, in my opinion. It seemed like the Lakers just grabbed every single offensive rebound. They only had 12 compared to the Nuggets 6, but those were 12 key offensive rebounds that led to points. It just kind of sucks to see that, like I talked about earlier, the Nuggets just didn't rebound, didn't have the will or energy. And that's just kind of the disappointing thing. And so we talked about here, LA Lakers 114, Denver Nuggets 108. Just kind of let's go to the team stats really quick, and then we'll move on to the the Heat and the Celtics game, which sucks to talk about, but we're going to talk about it. You know, like I said, like this game was just about rebounding. You know, turnovers were about the same. I mean, it was like, what, 11 and 11, so it wasn't really much of an advantage in any situation like that. You know, points in the paint about the same, fouls about the same. You know, it just really came down to those second chance points for the LA Lakers, and as you can tell by the score, 114 to 108, that's the reason why they won this game. Second chance opportunities led to easy points, led to dunks by Dwight Howard. You know, LeBron misses the layup. Dwight Howard's back to put it down. You got a lot of that stuff from this Lakers team. And so, as much as it sucks to say, I really don't think the Nuggets have a chance in this next game. So, let's end it off here. Anthony Davis, the leading scorer of everybody with 34 points. Jamal Murray with 32. And if we go back, I believe LeBron James had 26. Dwight Howard gave you 12, which is amazing. You had also Caldwell Pope back to it and talk about it more, but this is the game that we need to talk about here. Miami Heat winning 112, Boston Celtics 109. Jason Tatum was probably kind of an X factor as to the reason why the Celtics just absolutely lost this game. Not necessarily say that he was the reason why. But definitely that cold start where, like, in 10 minutes he had 0 points. That's just not going to cut it. Thies with 8. Kemba Walker playing really good. Marcus Smart not playing very smart. 1 of 8 from 3-point land. Jaylen Brown 4 of 7. Jaylen Brown came to play. It's the other guys. Jason Tatum didn't come to play. Marcus Smart didn't come to play. And you barely got any minutes from anybody else besides, like, Gordon Hayward, Williams III, and Wanamaker, who continues to impress me as someone that likes to watch the role players and see how they kind of pick up. But the story of the game was obviously the turnover battle. 19 for the Boston Celtics, 8 for the Miami Heat. When you have less than 10 turnovers, that's an automatic dub. I'm sorry. It's an automatic dub because you're not turning over the ball. The Celtics are still struggling again with the zone. I think they didn't really get the matchups they wanted to. I think Duncan Robinson didn't really play as much. Obviously, it was more of the Tyler Hero show. And Miami, like I titled this video, finally has a hero in Tyler Hero. With the way that he was able to shoot the ball, able to attack the rim, 6 rebounds, only 3 assists. Had a turnover, but that's okay. But 37 points is amazing and led the whole team and led the whole everybody with points with 37. So it was awesome to watch him. Awesome to see what's going on in that situation. Dragic struggled, but still got to the 22 points. Jimmy Butler, again, 8 of 20, 0 of 2 from 3-point land. Got 24 points. And Bam Adebayo, 7 for 11 with 20 points. So he was very efficient. And yeah, like we talked about, guys, like they may have shot a terrible 3-point percentage shot. But at the same time, the Celtics turnovers again and the defense of the Miami Heat led the Miami Heat to this win. This is another game that the Celtics should have won. But again, it was just bad passes, not knowing how to attack the zone, what to do in the zone, attack the mismatches, get what you want in the zone. And they obviously failed at that. And so that's a little disappointing to see from the Boston Celtics because, again, oh my goodness, I am so sorry, guys, about that one. Just yawning right now. Watching my Boston Celtics just absolutely crumble away an opportunity. It's just frustrating. It's an infuriating thing to watch, guys. Like, I really hope that at some point the Celtics can wake up finally, but I'm just not having a lot of faith. I think that their passing is obviously really bad. We had 6 turnovers from Tatum, 2 from Theis, 4 from Smart, 4 from Brown. I mean, when your starters all have like more than 2 or 3 turnovers, that's a really big issue. And obviously that's what led to the 19 turnovers. And of course, we kind of led the rebounding category by a couple, but still, it was infuriating. And the assists we led, it just sucks to see that the Celtics didn't really step up to the plate when they needed to. Yeah, Supreme Gamer, I'm hoping that they win next game, but at the same time, I kind of hope they get eliminated. I'm going to be a little pessimistic here about my Celtics. I think that they need to trade and get a different center because Theis is definitely not the guy that we need. I also think that another issue I'm seeing is also, what do we do with so many guys wanting the ball, right? I mean, we got Gordon Hayward needing the ball. We got Marcus Smart, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, all taking the shots. Obviously it was more distributed between, Kemba Walker, Smart, Brown, and Gordon Hayward. And we obviously see that Jason Tatum's kind of the star or the superstar of the team with, 22 shots. That commands a lot. But we can't afford Jason Tatum to have those slow starts again. And I'm really hoping that at some point we can kind of trade a couple of these pieces and get a center, because I would love to get somebody in the middle that could actually help us win games. Robert Williams III, a great role player off the bench. I would love to see him step up, but I don't think he can shoot the three well enough. So we'll see what happens there. And yeah, I agree with you. If the Celtics can get a great center, whether it's Vucevic, whether it's someone that can get a bucket down low that's easy for us to go into, then I think we win the championship easily. But it's going to be up to the Boston Celtics to figure out, what trades we need to make, what we need to do, because, I would honestly loved Anthony Davis as much as it would have, hurt to get rid of Jaylen Brown. With the way that Marcus Smart has kind of stepped up, I wish that would have been the case, but, you can't think about the past. You can't think about the what ifs. You have to think about what you have now. And so it would be nice to get a center. I don't know what centers are available. Let me see if there's anybody in the 2021 free agency class. Let's see here. Not Blake Griffin, I don't think. Let's go by position. Let's see here. Rudy Gobert might. No, not Rudy Gobert. See, there's no one really that I would want as like a center. To be honest, Supreme Gamer, I'm willing to give up. I think. See, that's tough. I don't know what I would be willing to give up. I think what I would be willing to give up is obviously Gordon Hayward. I would honestly be able to get rid of Kemba Walker. One thing I noticed about Kemba Walker is that he's just a liability on defense. I mean, if you guys watch the game and kind of watch it on replay, you saw that they attacked Kemba Walker, got him on the switch against Jimmy Butler, got him on the switch against anybody, and it was kind of whoever offense on Kemba Walker, because the matter of fact is that he's a small guard. And really defensively, he's just not capable of stopping anybody. He's not elite in terms of. Oh my goodness! I'm so sorry about these yawns. It's annoying. But I think Kemba Walker's too small, and I'd honestly be willing to give up Kemba Walker. I know we just signed him. I know he's a free agent, but I'm willing to give up Kemba Walker. I'm willing to give up Gordon Hayward, if it means I would get a good center. Jaylen Brown I want to keep, Marcus Smart I want to keep, Jason Tatum I want to keep, because I think those three guys are the key pieces for us. And if we had to throw Theis in there, I would like to keep Ojale because I think he's a stretch big. But yeah, I think I would honestly give up all this because we also have first round picks too that we don't really use or don't really need. I think I like our bench. I like the players we have on here, but I would be willing to give up that. I mean, who are kind of let me see who the NBA centers are. I mean, let's see what the Ringer has. The Ringer's, kind of I mean, okay, hear me out. What if we trade Kemba Walker, Gordon Hayward, 2 first round picks, and maybe something sweet for Joel Embiid? I think Joel Embiid would be a perfect fit in Boston. I think he needs a change of scenery. The one thing that would be a concern for me for Joel Embiid if we were to try and obtain him is the fact that health-wise, he just doesn't stay healthy enough for me to where I would actually be where I would be concerned with, because I think Joel Embiid is a great center. I think he's more aggressive, and I love the way that he attacks the rim. And so I would be willing to get Joel Embiid. The problem is are the 76ers willing to blow up that project? Let me know in the comment section down below. Am I crazy for wanting Joel Embiid? Do you think he's a good fit for us? I mean, that's kind of the situation, because like we talked about before, Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid just don't work together. We kind of see it when they're playing together. Ben Simmons is not willing to shoot the ball. Ben Simmons is kind of a decoy, but I don't know if, like I said, the 76ers are willing to trade for us, but I think we can make a nice deal for it. I don't know. Like, the problem with Karl Anthony Towns is defensively, I think Karl Anthony Towns is a liability. Offensively, I think he's okay. So we'll see about that. Could we trade for Giannis? I mean, could the Celtics be in for a Giannis Antetokounmpo swap? I'm speaking, horseshoes and hand grenades here. Like, it's just not. I just don't see it. I would love to see like us try and trade for Giannis. But I think realistically, what I think I could see happening is us trying to trade for Karl Anthony Towns, because I think the Minnesota Timberwolves are kind of in a rebuild mode. It seems like they've always been stuck in this rebuild mode. And, they got to the playoffs a year ago. I liked them. I think the team is really great. And when they had Jimmy Butler, but Tom Thibodeau was the wrong coach for them. But yeah, like you said, we'd have to give up a really good player for Giannis. So I don't see that happening at all. I mean, unless, Giannis says, I'm not going to sign the Supermax, then we might be able to finesse a deal there. But still, I don't see us really trading for it. So, it is what it is on that aspect. So I don't think we're going to get Giannis. That's kind of like far-fetched. The only way we would ever be able to sign him is if he decided to go into free agency and then we tried to sign him up, because that's the only way that we'd be able to get him. But I think realistically what it will have to be, I think it'll have to be Karl Anthony Towns. I like Karl Anthony Towns on offense. I think he's a great player. Shoots a lot more threes for me than I would like. But I think Brad Stevens can turn Karl Anthony Towns into an amazing player. So I would love to see the Celtics try and get Karl Anthony Towns. I think as the big man, I think my number one option, obviously Giannis, just because he stays healthy. He's a big man that can also kind of stretch the floor and, handle the rock. That kind of allows Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Marcus Smart to kind of spot up or, set them up for a drive and kick. That's my number one option. Number two, I think, would be Joel Embiid, with the caveat that he would actually stay healthy and actually focus and actually go to practice, because I think Joel Embiid could be one of the best big men that we've ever seen play the game. But I would love to see maybe Karl Anthony Towns as my third option. I think Karl Anthony Towns is a good player. I think I like him as someone that could potentially be offensively for us a really good player, stretches the floor, allows us to get out of situations and matchups like we are with the Miami Heat right now, because he's able to shoot the ball compared to Theis, who doesn't really shoot the ball. So I would love to see Karl Anthony Towns as one of our guys that we pick up, but that's going to be up to the Minnesota Timberwolves and what they think of him, and kind of figuring out what big men that we would actually be interested in, because I think Karl Anthony Towns could be the answer, but it's going to be up to the owners. It's going to be up to the GMs, Danny Ainge, to make and finesse a trade, because we have the first round picks and we had them to trade away. But the last couple of years we've been using them. And so I'm hoping that we can kind of speed up the process and get someone in the center position to help us out. So like I said, Giannis 1, Joel Embiid 2, Karl Anthony Towns 3. And that's just kind of my opinion. Let's see here. I would get a defensive center that could also shoot threes and develop. Yeah, I think Robert Williams is going to be more of a lob man. I think he's going to be like a poor man's DeAndre Jordan. Defensively can, make some moves. Defensively will block shots. But I really think that it's going to come down to we need offense from the center, because right now they're not really honing in on Theis. Theis is kind of being left open. He's making some shots here and there, and he's just kind of getting situations where he gets lobbed. But I think if you're able to have another playmaker out there on the court from the center position, it would be actually really fun to watch. I would actually love Robert Covington to come on the team. I think his three-point shot is very underrated. He was frustrating me a lot as a Celtics fan watching him on the 76ers when he was on that team. But I think Robert Covington, I would love to sign him and see what we can do with him as a role player, because I think he could definitely step in. I mean, if we kind of look at the role players, he could definitely take Semi Ojeley's spot. I think Semi Ojeley, a decent player, but I think he needs to work a little bit more on his 3-point shot in his game. He could definitely be in here giving you minutes, because Enes Kanter, it was a great experiment, and for the regular season he's good, but defensively he's just Swiss cheese. Like, you can just easily beat him, and it just sucks to kind of watch that, because I know Enes Kanter was a top pick in this league. A lot of people kind of have high respects for him, but defensively he is a liability. So I would love to get a guy like Robert Covington. Depends on, let me see if he's on a contract, because I think he would actually be a really good player for us. Let's see here, contract. Let's see here. Okay, so he was an unrestricted free agent in 2022. We're going to have to definitely make some moves. But I definitely would not trade 2 first-round picks for Robert Covington. As much as I like Robert Covington, as much as he's a great player, I just think 2 first-round picks for him is just too much. I would rather use those 2 first-round picks to get guys like Joel Embiid, use it to get guys like Karl-Anthony Towns or Giannis if we were able to get him. I would use it for like kind of your superstar players, to be honest with you, because to be honest, I think that they're worth those first-round picks rather than Robert Covington. Robert Covington, a great player, not taking anything away from him. I just think that we need a more reliable big man, someone that can, go to the hole. And I just think that a guy like Karl-Anthony Towns or a guy like Joel Embiid would be a much better use of trading away assets to get than Robert Covington. As much as I think Robert Covington's a great player, I just don't know if I would trade up that much to get Robert Covington. Maybe we might take him on. I mean, let's look at the cap room for the Boston Celtics. Because I think, let's look at the payroll really quick and see kind of what. Let's see here. No, that's not what I need. Let's see the team salary and how much we have left in the space. I mean, the problem is that right now, if this team was to run it back for the 2021 season, there is a lot of players on contract, and it's going to be one of those things where we have to trade players. Gordon Hayward is definitely going to be up there as someone I would want to trade. As much as we signed Kemba to that contract, I think we're going to have to stay with him, just due to the fact that I think it would be a bad look if we just kind of gave up on him, as much as I would love to. But I think you're going to have to trade away Gordon Hayward. I think you're going to have to trade away, let's see who else you could trade away here. I mean, luckily right now you have, Jason Tatum, up till 2021, 22, where they're still on small contracts. Jaylen Brown, I think, is going to get his next year, obviously signing an extension, getting 23, 25, 27. So I think that, we have a window here in this next 2 to 3 years. And I think it's just going to come down to, can we trade these players and get someone for a center? Because I would love to get a center, man. I would love to get a big man, because I think traditionally and even now you need them. I know that small ball is kind of taking over the NBA. It's kind of what people are going for. But at the same time, I would rather go for a big man who will make a big impact. Getting a small, big is realistic. They're good on defense. Yeah, the problem I have though with the big though, I'm a traditionalist, like, in that aspect. Like, it doesn't matter about my 4 players. I at least need one center that I can go to that will give me easy buckets, easy points. And I think Karl-Anthony Towns is one of those people. I think Joel Embiid is one of those guys as well. And Giannis as well, but I think Giannis is more of a power forward than a center. So I don't know why he's like in the center category for the ringer, but it's Bill Simmons. What do you expect? But I'm a traditionalist. I would want a big man. So I think for me, it's Joel Embiid or Karl Anthony Towns is who I'd want. Whether we can get him or not, that's going to be the bigger question for the Celtics and Danny Ainge to decide, because we know Danny Ainge is a master negotiator. It's going to be up to him, though, to get us those players, because I think we are, like I said, and like you talked about, we're one piece away from winning the championship, or we're one piece away from actually going to the finals. Even though we're still in it and never say never, never can die attitude. But I got to be realistic in some aspect, right? Because right now, Brad Stevens hasn't really shown me that he can beat this Miami Heat zone, which is frustrating and annoying. And obviously, it gave the Bucks a lot of problems. It gave a couple of teams a lot of problems. So, I'm expecting something different from the Boston Celtics next year, and for Brad Stevens to actually run a zone offense, because it's annoying to kind of watch the zone offense that he's going to. Didn't really take advantage of attacking Duncan Robinson like Half Court Hoops talked about. They kind of got away from that for some reason, and I don't know why. So yeah, I think, like I said, Joel Embiid would probably be my number one, besides Giannis. But I know Giannis is very unrealistic, so let me keep it realistic and say that it's going to be Giannis Antetokounmpo. It's going to be Joel Embiid. Giannis, not so much. Let's see here. If we go to Real GM really quick, see if there's anything here. You know what? Let's talk about this. I could see this being so factually true. I think let's look at this. The Celtics had a serious interest in drafting Tyler Hero leading up to the 2019 draft. Boston owned the 14th pick, but Miami picked Hero at 13. The Celtics lost the flip coin to the Heat for the selection. They ended up selecting Romeo Langford at 14. On the draft night, there was a collective moaning against the Boston Celtics brass about the time Miami used 13 picks to select Tyler Hero. If I was the Boston Celtics and I knew that was going to be the guy you wanted, I would trade for it. Like, I don't care. Like, I don't care who you are. If you know that there's one player in the draft that you feel like is going to make a difference on your team, I don't care what you need to do. You make that trade. Because you don't want to be in the situation of what ifs. And obviously, this is a what if storyline that we're talking about here with, who is this coming from? Someone from NBC Sports Boston, right? Shepard Blakely. You have to trade for him, man. Tyler Hero would actually be a really good fit for us, and I'm really disappointed in the Boston Celtics if that was the guy that you were trying to go for. Why wait? Let's get the guy that you want right away. Like, if you lose the flip coin, I understand that, you don't know what the Miami Heat are going to do. You kind of, you make that call to Miami and be like, hey, who are you thinking about taking with this next pick? And if they say, oh, we got a list of guys we're going to take, we're going to take Tyler Hero, we're going to take Romeo Langford. We're kind of looking at those two guys, and you're like, well, what if we make a trade? What are you looking for? Because I think the Celtics should not have waited for Tyler Hero to fall to them. They should have gotten him, especially if you know that Miami is kind of in the same mold as you. That's just so dumb. Some players are in the draft that ball out one day. I mean, it just doesn't make any. Oh, whoops. I guess Bam Adebayo's hurt. But yeah, I mean, I just think that that's someone that I would try and go get. Like, I don't care who you are. I don't care what you do. You make sure that you get the player that you need in order to be where you're supposed to be, right? Because Tyler Hero definitely is supposed to be going to, Tyler Hero's going to be here for a long time. And so if that's kind of the guy that that's going to be one of your, top players, or a player that you would love to add to your team, then you add him to your team right away. Don't wait for him. Don't say, like, he's going to fall to us. I hope he falls to us. Cross your fingers. Do your other magic or whatever else you kind of say to get what the players that you want. It doesn't work that way. Get the guy right away. That story just infuriates me, because I would love to see Tyler Hero on our team. I think he's a really good player. I even watched him during the regular season, got injured a little bit, so that's why he didn't play as much and got second team all rookie. But I think if he was healthier, me and my boy Brad had kind of an argument about it, because I think he's good, and I think that he's always has been good. And so kind of reading that story infuriates me as a Celtics fan because that was supposed to be us. And of course we didn't do that. We ended up just signing Romeo Langford, who's a smaller guard and not really a big, like, I think he could be a decent player and a role player, but Tyler Hero just screams, you know, key player on the team that could help us win games. And so it is what it is, I guess. I mean, we also got to talk about this story here. This is another interesting one coming from Kevin O'Connor of The Ringer. Mike D'Antoni is a candidate for the Heat coaching vacancy, according to Kevin O'Connor. Rumblings of Mike D'Antoni going to the Sixers have gotten much louder this past day, wrote O'Connor. Nothing's final. I'm just intrigued since the preferred style isn't a fit for Philly's roster. This is an interesting story. I mean, I just don't think Mike D'Antoni, this is going to be like Mike D'Antoni to the Lakers all over again because he doesn't have the players and the pieces that he needs. You know, we talk about Ben Simmons not being able to shoot the rock. We talk about Joel Embiid being a center just like Dwight Howard was when he signed to LA and got the big money. I just don't see this. I don't see Mike D'Antoni and the 76ers as a great fit. I think it's a clash of styles. It's a clash of everything. I just don't see it. And kind of going back to your point, Supreme Gamer, does Romeo have any? I think he does have some potential. But the problem is that in this roster, you're not going to be able to get in here at all. The only way you'll be able to get in here is if you're able to back up a guy like Marcus Smart or Jaylen Brown. And right now, Romeo Langford does not get any playing time at all. I mean, let's look at Romeo. You know, we're kind of, he's out for the season anyway, but, 11 minutes a game, 2 point, we see Tyler Hero with more impact. And, I think the problem with Romeo Langford is that he needs to grow a little bit and become more comfortable in the role. So I would love to see him get better, but at the same time, I just don't see Romeo Langford as someone that, compared to Tyler Hero, it's no competition. I think it's Tyler Hero and Romeo Langford way down here. So I think Romeo Langford does have potential to be a good role player, get us some clutch threes, some big threes, but I think Tyler Hero does everything else so well that I would not take a one-dimensional three-point shooter in Romeo Langford compared to a multi-dimensional type of player in Tyler Hero. And so that's kind of my argument with Tyler Hero, or with Romeo Langford, even though I think he could be a decent player. He's definitely got to grow up, not grow up in a sense where he needs attitude wise. He just needs to grow up and get his big man body. Cause I think still he's still got a lot of room for improvement. And so, potential wise, like I said, good role player, can give us some big threes and some big moments. I mean, the thing is though, is that the 76ers, I think they're, let's look at the 76ers stats, 76ers stats. Oops, no. Stats. We can kind of look at the, no, I guess this is postseason. We need, where is it? Basketball Reference. Here we go. Build the ideal team around Trae Young. Cap doesn't exist. Let's see here. Because I think the bigger story for the 76ers is that their three-point percentage is absolutely bang average. And so, I don't know. I'm not a big fan of Mike D'Antoni on the... Yeah, I'm just not a big fan of D'Antoni on the 76ers. I know that he can definitely create some offense, but I think you're going to get the D'Antoni from the LA Lakers with this roster. You're going to get that frustrated D'Antoni who can get the Lakers to the playoffs, but at the same time, it's just absolutely not going to cut it for them. And that's kind of, that's really it for the 76ers talk. I mean, like I said, D'Antoni is not someone I would be clamoring for if I'm the 76ers. I'm clamoring for someone that can get Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons the best possible positions for them to attack the rock. And I know that D'Antoni is an offensive genius. I get that. But I just don't think the play style fits D'Antoni's system. And I just don't think that the 76ers should be looking at D'Antoni as a viable option. I honestly think the viable coach, who would be the viable coach for the 76ers? I would love to see a guy like Mark Jackson get another opportunity. I would like to see maybe Tyronn Lue if he's up for it. You know, I know that the heart condition for him is kind of the big thing, you know, with chest pains, and I just don't want him to be in a stressful situation where it's going to cause him to, you know, be stressed and not being able to complete the regular season. So I think that if I had to say, I think Mark Jackson would be a very good candidate for it. Like, I think Mark Jackson I could definitely see Mark Jackson returning the 76ers back to where they were. I think that offensively, I know we saw kind of what the Warriors became, and I think that was just more due to Steve Kerr in terms of like the 3-point flurries. But I think Mark Jackson definitely gave the confidence and the kind of growth. And I think that that's why you bring in Mark Jackson, because Brett Brown should have been fired 3 or 4 years ago when Joel Embiid was a rookie, because Brett Brown, offensively, defensively, I'm just not a big fan of. I think that they could have done a lot better. And I'm glad that they got rid of him now. But the problem is, I don't know if the damage is irreversible for guys like Ben Simmons, guys like Joel Embiid. But I think Elton Brand, I think that they hired him too early. I think Elton Brand should have like kind of stayed in the back a little bit, worked his way up to this position where he's at right now, because I think that it would have been better for him in that aspect, right? Because this team was like, we talked about it last year. It was kind of like a finals team, right? We talked about how they could have made the NBA finals. They were, you know, so close. Obviously lost to the Boston Celtics, and it's just kind of another situation where I think that they should have done a better job with it. And I think if Elton Brand was supposed to be kind of the star GM or, you know, player personnel, player director, they needed to do a better job of it. And so I'm hoping that they can figure out something for Elton Brand to kind of learn from someone, and kind of have someone have a personnel that's older than him kind of guide him through everything, you know, the ins and outs, what they should do, and then hire him to this position. But I think they just did it too early. And I want you guys to really go and check out my video about Trae Young and or I guess the Warriors of the East. It's a really interesting video, and I think that if we really look at it, you know, we talked about how, or maybe we didn't talk about it on stream, but I know that John Collins is getting a contract extension in Atlanta. And I think that Atlanta is a very particular situation where they need to start trading for some star players ASAP. Because if we look at the Atlanta Hawks, as I spell it wrong, let's see here. I think that the Atlanta Hawks are looking for I think they're looking for a superstar player, and the question is going to be like, what superstar player are they going to get? What player is going to help them go over the hump? Because again, you know, I'm kind of a fan of some young teams. I think that this Atlanta Hawks team is very fun and very cool to watch. I think that they have some really good pieces that they could trade away and get into the playoffs next year. Trae Young, I know a lot of people think he's overrated. I don't. I think that he was a great pickup for the Atlanta Hawks. I think that both the Atlanta Hawks and the Dallas Mavericks won that trade night. Each of them taking the W from other ones. You know, I think the biggest L for me was the Sacramento Kings. I'm not a huge Marvin Bagley fan. I'm more of a bigger Trae Young fan, more of a Luka Doncic fan. But I like Trae Young. I think that he kind of reminds me of Steph Curry. But I think what I like about the Hawks is that Trae Young is a better version of Steph Curry earlier in his career than later, right? You know, Trae Young can make the passes, he can score the rock. I think for him, it's going to be shot selection and making sure that, you know, the right time and place for shot selection. And so I would love to see, me and my friends kind of talked about it. What if, and this is a what if, the Atlanta Hawks trade for Lonzo Ball? And I want you guys to hear me out on this. I think that Lonzo Ball could be a Klay Thompson type of player for Trae Young. A long, lanky player who's a much better improved defender. I think that Lonzo Ball could be a great fit in Atlanta. And if they don't get him, and then, you know, I think they have the 4th or 5th pick. I know. Let me see what pick they have. I believe that they have the 6th pick overall. So they're not going to be in the LaMelo Ball sweepstakes. So, you know, if they were able to get LaMelo Ball, I would say get him. But what if you were able to trade away and get Lonzo Ball on your team? I think Lonzo Ball makes perfect sense. I think defensively he's a lot better. And I know that they have Kevin Herter, I believe is his name, number 3, played at Maryland. But I think so, man. I think that Lonzo Ball could be a perfect fit there. I would love to see it. And I think the Atlanta Hawks could use him really well. I think that the Hawks could be a team where I could definitely see them taking advantage of that aspect. So let's look out for some trade rumors. I'm going to put it out there into the universe. Atlanta Hawks are going to get Lonzo Ball. There you go. That's my kind of outlandish take of the night for the Atlanta Hawks, is to get Lonzo Ball. Because otherwise, I think this team, when we look at it on paper, when we kind of look at it as a squad, I like them. I like the squad. You know, Vince Carter obviously retiring, going to be, I think he's an ESPN analyst now, or TNT. We're going to continue with ad blocker. Sorry. I think Cam Reddish is going to improve a lot. I think Jeff Teague is someone that you might be able to trade for. I'm not sure if he's a free agent. Bruno Fernando, I love his game. I think he could be a great center. It's going to be up to him to develop. I think he could develop a three-point shot, and also he's a great free throw shooter. DeAndre Hunter, a great player, a young player, but will still definitely grow and develop into his role. And I think that they have a lot of good pieces, and Trae Young obviously being the superstar of the team. I could potentially see the Atlanta Hawks being a great team, but it's going to be up to them to kind of grow into that role. It's going to be up to them to trade for pieces, because they are definitely going to need some pieces when it comes to that. Then let's see here. Making sure there's no other stories to talk about. Obviously, again, like I said, Tyler Hero was the biggest hero and the biggest reason why the Miami Heat won their game. And then, of course, in the LA Lakers game, it was more due to the fact that the rebounding, especially in the offensive category, got the Lakers second chance points, and they capitalized on that. As we see here, they won 114-108. And so I think we're going to have to call out Jokic and say, look, you need to step up. You need to step up, get those rebounds, get in position to where you're not getting bullied by Dwight Howard, because there's no way that Dwight Howard should be bullying you, Jokic. You're too good of a player. You're an all-star, superstar type of player. Get better, honestly. Like, get better on the boards, and get better in the assist categories, because right now your team needs you. And the fact that you only had 16 points, only 4 assists and 7 rebounds is just absolutely atrocious. And so I'm calling out Jokic for next game to step up, get themselves the W, and get them into a better opportunity to score the rock. And then kind of going to the Celtics again, Tyler Hero, we need to capitalize on making sure that we stop him. I think that Crowder had an off game again, 1 of 9, 1 of 7. They had an off night from three-point land, and it was just the turnovers. If we limit the turnovers, we can handle Tyler Hero getting 37 points. But what we can't handle is our star player going 10 minutes, only 0 points in 10 minutes, 6 turnovers, 2 turnovers, 4 turnovers from our starters. I mean, this is absolutely atrocious when it comes to fouling, right? Because what do we have here? 8, 10, 16 turnovers from our starters and 3 from our bench players, compared to 8 from the starters of the Miami Heat. So we need to do a better job, handle the zone better. Brad Stevens, please have a zone offense. Please. I'm begging you to have a zone offense, because that's how we're getting our butts kicked, and it's just frustrating. But to go back to your point, Supreme Gamer, as I went on my rant on these two teams, yeah, I could definitely see the Hawks making like a 6 seed. I think that they're going to be better than the Orlando Magic are. I think that they're going to be better than who else made it? Who else made the playoffs? I think they're going to be better than the Indiana Pacers. Let's see here. Hopefully it should. Let's see here. I was hoping it would go back to these other things, but let's see here. Should be playoff picture. This might be it. Like, I definitely see them being better than the Orlando Magic. I definitely see them being better than the Indiana Pacers. I definitely see them. I think they could take over the Orlando Magic because I don't think any other team in the Eastern Conference got any better. I mean, let's look at the Eastern Conference itself as we look here on the board. Atlanta, they went 20-47, but I think they could have made a big run. Charlotte hasn't really improved that much. The Washington Wizards have not improved that much. New York is just a bottom feeder team. The Detroit Pistons, a bottom feeder team. Cleveland, trying to go back to that rebuild. I saw some Cedi Osman. I think Cedi Osman should definitely be looking for a trade because I think Cedi Osman can make a big impact on the team. I know he played with LeBron James. I know that LeBron James is good friends with him. But I do like the fact that we could see Cedi Osman. I would love to see him get traded. I think that that's kind of what I'm looking for and hoping for as it comes to the as it comes to next year. I think that Cedi Osman should demand a trade, to be honest with you guys. I would love to see that from Cedi Osman. And let's see here, guys. And I think Atlanta could definitely sneak in above all these other teams. I think Chicago is still very young. They don't really have the team all together yet. So I have Atlanta replacing the Orlando Magic. And it's just depending on the seeds because, obviously Brooklyn's going to move all the way up. And we're going to see a couple teams kind of slide down, especially Indiana. And so we'll see here. But I think that's going to do it, guys. I don't really have that much else to talk about. There's not really any other storylines other than some Thursday Night Football stuff. We obviously saw the Miami Dolphins dismantle the Jaguars. Gunnar Minshew, Uncle Rico just played terribly today. But we'll see. The problem, though, with Supreme Game with the Chicago team is that I don't trust Billy. Was it Billy? Yeah, I think Billy Donovan got signed. I don't trust Billy Donovan as the coach, man. I really think that Billy Donovan is going to hold back players like Zach LaVine. I think Zach LaVine needs to be a little bit better on the defensive end. And I just think that the Chicago Bulls front office is just absolutely atrocious. And I think that they made some mistakes and some picks. I think Wendell Carter's a good player. I like him. Lauri Markkanen's not a bad player. But I'm still not sold on like Kobe White. I think Kobe White is going to be a nice role-playing type of guard. But I'm just not sold as him as like a star or a superstar player. So I think that they need to do a little bit of, upkeeping. And I think they need to do some trading for some superstars because right now, Chicago is definitely not playing like they were back in the 90s with Michael Jordan, right? They want to get back to those times, and I think that they can do. It's just depending on who they sign and figuring out what else they could do to get better. But that's kind of my opinion on the Chicago Bulls. But all right, Supreme Gamer, have a good night, man. Hopefully all is well in whatever you're doing, work, school, whatever it is. Hopefully you're doing all right in that stuff. But I think that's going to cut it here, guys, for us on the charge. Unless there's any other stories that you guys are seeing out there, put it in the chat or put it in the comment section down below when you're watching this video after the fact that it's live streamed. Because honestly, I'm not really seeing anything to talk about when it comes to news and rumors. So I think we're going to say sayonara for tonight, guys. Appreciate the 3 people that were in here. It's a fun watch. It's a fun kind of situation to kind of get to know you guys and to also kind of talk basketball with the community because I like to get perspectives and interests from other people. You could be the best basketball aficionado or you could be someone that doesn't really watch basketball at all, talk about basketball. I love to get everybody's perspective and opinions and kind of figure out what everybody's consensus is when it comes to this stuff. But yeah, guys, that's going to do it here for me on the charts. Thank you once again for joining us. It was a fun time. Obviously not a fun time talking about my Celtics going against the Miami Heat and losing and talking about those turnovers. Again, I'm calling out the Celtics. This cannot happen. 19 turnovers just can't happen. And so anyway, guys, like I said, that's going to do it for here on the charge. My name is Bernie. Thank you once again for joining us on the live stream. I'm going to try to make live streaming more of a thing here on the channel. Obviously, we're doing it, but I want to do it more for like news and rumors and kind of talking about all this stuff as we go to the NBA draft, as we talk about it more in, kind of rumor mill stuff as the season ends and they go into January to play. But anyway, guys, like I said, my name is Bernie. Thank you once again for joining us. Like I said, guys, the Lakers won 114-108. And then again, the Miami Heat won 112-109. both teams, the Lakers and the Heat, up 3-1. It's going to be up to the Celtics, and it's going to be up to the Nuggets to get back from a 3-1 lead. Anyway, guys, like I said, my name is Bernie. I'll catch you later. Please remember to hit that like button. Also remember to hit that subscribe button. It's the red one. Anyway, guys, peace.